Welcome to the Becoming Aware podcast, where I, Genevieve Faulkner, share what I'm becoming aware of. Hello and welcome to the Becoming Aware podcast. My name is Genevieve Faulkner, your host, and if you're watching this on YouTube, hi. So today I just thought that I would check in with you guys about, how is the creation of money in your life right now? Are you able to create enough? And are you getting lost in the sea of unconsciousness that's being created on this planet right now? With regards to the ability to financially provide for yourself or take care of yourself, it's very loud at the moment, or it particularly is in Australia. I'm willing to bet it's loud in other places too. There is a lot of stress, anxiety, panic, just scarcity consciousness up very loudly. And, there's all sorts of things that are happening within the world that contribute to that getting activated, right? When interest rates go up, that can activate all sorts of stuff. Like it's a real thing, right? People are stretched. So all of that emotion gets created. But one of the things that I'm aware of is that there's almost an intensification of this that gets created through the frequencies that are getting transmitted at the same time. So we have situations being created en masse, with regards to things like interest rates. But we also have the way in which news outlets and, media sources are sharing content that actually begin to activate more stress, anxiety, and fear in people. And so I just wanted to point that out in case you hadn't acknowledged it, because if you are, online watching stuff or reading the news or, whatever, and you're not acknowledging the narrative, the undertones of what it is that is the message, in a lot of places, you might not be totally aware of how that subtle frequency can begin to tune you to a frequency that puts you in the state of feeling like you're powerless, feeling like you don't have the ability to create something different beyond what everybody else is experiencing, okay? So I wanted to give some pointers with regards to what you can do if you are in that state of picking up all that energy, or perhaps being in that state of feeling powerless yourself, being worried about the future. There's a couple of things that you can do to help yourself. So first of all, acknowledging where the world is at the moment can help, because when you acknowledge, okay, this is loud, this is a frequency that is being broadcast by many people, and through, all of these, media outlets and whatnot, the frequencies they're transmitting, they're activating that more and more in people. So it's almost like there's this huge current of scarcity, right? Of desperation, of fear, of anxiety about the future. And that's contributing to creating en masse a future for people that, might not be that fun. So acknowledging all of that, and then acknowledging, okay, if that's the way that the current's headed, for a lot of people, what can I choose, or how can I be different in a way that allows me to effectively outcreate all of that energy, right? Because when you acknowledge the awareness that you have, you don't have to get lost in that sea. You can be like, well, that's interesting. Do I want to swim with that current? Probably not. Maybe there is a different slipstream, right, that I can go into that would create something different. So acknowledging your awareness. Now, some of you may have grown up in, scarcity environments, and that energy may be louder for you. So it might be that you require some sort of shifting, some sort of healing, nervous system regulation to help you move the energy that may be stuck in your body that's creating that energy being even louder for you. Because when we've got things stored from our childhood, for example, emotional energy, for example, and then we have belief systems created from those experiences and the emotions that we've suppressed, that acts like a magnet to all of the energy that's the same frequency on this planet that's created by other people. So if you find that you're feeling really stressed, you're feeling really anxious about money or the creation of your future, ask yourself, is there stuff that I'm storing from childhood that needs to be released? What do I need to let go of? What can I acknowledge now that's different to what was before? And you are more than welcome to book theta healing sessions with me if you need. We can resolve the programming, release it together so that you don't have to be the effect of it anymore. And so that energy in the world is not as loud for you. Because when you don't have charge around an energy, like when you don't have a point of view about the energy, it can move freely, like it's just energy. But when there's that resistance or when there's that reaction to the energy because of the things that you've previously experienced and maybe you don't want to experience them again, then that can create, that sticking effect that then begins to create the reality that you don't want. So that's one thing. Now, the other thing that you can do is start to acknowledge the way in which you create money. So, we all have different ways of creating money. If you acknowledge the ways that you do create money and then acknowledge the money that you have created in the past, it can assist you to kind of calm your nervous system in a way that can allow you to acknowledge, I am the source of money. I am the creative source of money, no matter what way it's come. Like maybe it's come through self-employment, maybe it's come through a job, maybe it's come through some weird, experience where all of a sudden out of the blue, some sort of money showed up unexpectedly. Whatever way money shows up in your life, you're the source of it. You create that money. Someone may be the deliverer of that money, right? But you're the one that's created it. And so if in moments where you're feeling anxious and stressed, you begin to do that exercise of looking back and looking at all of the times you've created money, it can help activate that part of your brain, activate that part of your energy to know, okay, I am the source of money. I've created money before. I can create money again. It means that you don't buy into that narrative that you're helpless, powerless, and that you don't have any control over the situation. Now, you can do that for the future as well. So, maybe there's not enough flow right now, but actually, if you start to ask the question, okay, universe, show me all the money that I'm creating in the future, just like with the past. A lot of the time, what that can do is it can kind of put you back into that flow, right? Because one of the things that can occur, particularly I know, in my experience with being self-employed, if my nervous system is overloaded, if I'm not relaxed enough, my financial reality will start to kind of contract, right? People won't book sessions, or I'll make bad, decisions trading on the markets. Nervous system regulation, making sure that you're in that calm place, in that centered place, so that you're making choices from your awareness and not from a reaction or a resistance to something, is key to being able to generate, create, and bring in actualized money, right? So acknowledging those times in the future where you're creating money, the money, because even if in the moment it feels like there's not enough, right? Every action that you've taken up until this point, there'll be all sorts of actions in your life that is contributing to creating a future where more money is showing up. So asking to perceive that money begins to, again, activate that part of you that, can acknowledge that you are the source of money, but you're also the source of your future. And that can create that relaxation that begins to kind of allows things to flow again, right? Now that leads to another thing that can be a good thing to do, and it might seem strange to some of you, because if you, when we get stressed about money, particularly if you're self-employed, one of the things that we can think that we've got to do is work harder, right? Like, oh my God, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, to bring in money. Again, that creates more stress for the nervous system. That's activating that fight and flight responses, right? It's telling your being, your body, your energy that you're in this state of stress, and that doesn't create flow, right? So actually, one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself if you're feeling really stressed and anxious about the creation of money is find a way to detach a little from the situation for a time. Give yourself a breather. So that can look like perhaps centering yourself by going for a walk in nature. It could be having a salt bath. It could be spending time with friends. It could be, going on a day trip somewhere. Anything, watching your favorite TV show and just like streaming stuff for like a few hours so that you're distracted enough with your mind that you're actually creating space for the universe to bring in new possibilities, right? Because if you're in that contracted state, nothing else can show up, right? You're holding on too tightly. You're in that energy of control and using your creative energy to actually create the reality of scarcity for yourself. So in those moments of stress and anxiety and worry about the future, you can give yourself a timeout. And I mean, try to do that until the point where you actually relax, where you actually take a breath, where you actually can engage your energy into something else. And if you can do that, the universe will usually assist you to actually begin to have flow again. And that might look like different, ways of money showing up. For some, it might be like if you've got your own business, it might be that flow starts again. For others of you, it might be through the awareness of different income stream possibilities, right? So as you're relaxing, all of a sudden you get this hit. Oh, I could do this and create more money. Oh, if I chose that would solve the problem, right? So sometimes it's the possibility. Now, if it is that, of course, you have to choose that possibility in order to create the change. Nothing changes completely if you're just sitting in the same energy and not allowing things to move, right? So that's the other thing that you can do, is start to ask yourself and look at, okay, what ways am I not generating and creating money right now? What other possibilities exist for me to create money? And what could I begin to develop or learn about that would assist me to create more? Okay, because if you're somebody that's experiencing lack, scarcity, this panic or anxiety about money, it's actually, in a way, an indication that your financial reality has not grown enough, or it's not stable enough right now for you to feel fully secure and safe. So that's an awareness in itself, and that's a way in which to kind of if you acknowledge that, then you can begin to build on that, right? You can look at, okay, I'm not where I need to be right now. I need to be able to weather any storm and know that I'm okay, right? So then it's actually looking at what you need to invest your energy into in order to create more money, to then create that safety and security for yourself. Part of that also is the willingness to be aware, okay? So be aware of the way in which you're spending your money, the way in which you're perhaps creating money, but also where you begin to kind of check out of your financial reality, okay? Because if you're anxious and stressed, usually what happens when you're anxious and stressed about money, you actually will be knocking yourself out of that creative energy. You're knocking yourself out of that kind of the trust in yourself, the kind of, I've got this. I know I can handle this. I know that this is going to change, like energy. So in those moments, you've kind of got to do the opposite thing to what it is that you're kind of like feeling perhaps you need to do, right? Just like with the taking a break, taking a rest, that would feel kind of not natural when you're in that hyper state, but that's what's required. It's the same with your financial reality with regards to being present with it, right? So when you're in that stressed out state and you're worried about money and you're not sure whether, enough's going to show up, you can kind of go into that place of wanting to avoid it, right? We'll just not look at it. We'll just pretend it's not happening. And that's different to detaching from the energy, which is what I'm talking about before, right? The avoidance is where there's an element of, if you're present with it, it's almost like there's a pain that comes up, or there's a feeling that comes up that you don't know how to deal with the feeling. So you're trying to avoid the energy, right? You've got to be willing to actually, after the relaxation, right? So regulate your nervous system first, but then get present with your financial reality. Then acknowledge, okay, I have to change my financial reality in whatever way I can. And that means being present with every element of it in order to be able to create the change. And it's through that, like even just that, of making the commitment, maybe each day, maybe each week, to get very present with your finances. Look at how you're spending money, look at what money's coming in, look at how much you actually need to create in order to feel safe and stable and secure. Just that is like the opportunity to begin to purge all sorts of belief systems and feelings and emotions that are in the way of you really being that creative source of money, because they will come up. But if you can be present with them and not run away from them, not try and avoid them, but actually just be present with them, they can move, right? And again, if you need assistance with that, I can do theta healing sessions to help the energy around money to be shifted out of your world so that you have ease being one with it. But acknowledging those things, being present, allows you to know what's required to change in order for you to have your financial reality be yours, right? And then it's perhaps like making the commitment of, okay, what do I need to grow here? So it might be right now you're worried, maybe you're feeling anxious. You'll know from that experience that you need to perhaps save, create like a little savings fund, like an emergency fund, to feel secure and safe in the future, right? So it's making that commitment and perhaps, putting a little bit away each week to begin to build and grow that. That actually in itself is something that begins to create a sense of security and safety within, that allows you to know that you can weather the storms, okay? So making these different choices, acknowledging that perhaps your financial reality, maybe right now it's tight, stressful, maybe, there's all sorts of feelings up and you're worrying about the future, but allowing yourself to reset, and then allowing yourself to acknowledge your capacities, and then getting clear about what it is that needs to change, and then putting that in motion, that is the beginning of creating a completely different financial reality for yourself. Now, the thing is with financial realities, a lot of the time, unless you're somebody that has the capacity or business to bring in like a large amount very quickly, it tends to change over time, right? So you've got to allow those changes to occur in the time frame that they can, but acknowledge the change as it does occur, even if it's a little change. If you can be grateful for the change that you create in your finances, even if they're small changes, the money will begin to flow a lot more easier, more and more and more, because you'll be acknowledging you've got this, you've got the ability to create your reality, you've got the ability to manifest money or create money for yourself, right? There was one more thing that I was gonna share there. The transmitter, right? So then the other thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning, there is a lot being transmitted onto this planet right now. Like, social media is very much a tool that can assist people to transmit a frequency or, words into our subconscious, into our energetic fields, in a way that if we're not being aware enough, it can begin to recode our systems, right? And cause us to either be empowered or not be empowered. So pay attention to that. If you're finding that, reading the news is like creating that sense of powerlessness for you, stop reading it. Ask yourself what frequency, like what ways can you tap into the frequencies of wealth, of relaxation, of feeling secure and safe. And that might be looking up people on YouTube that have created a lot of money, or learning about something with relation to business. But tapping into those frequencies of people that are creative and not functioning from scarcity can assist you to kind of tune your frequency a little higher, so that you're not getting pulled down by the masses of anxiety and stress and overwhelm and feeling they can't cope with the current reality. Right now, as I do this recording, if you look into the astrology, we have Chiron at the 29th degree of Aries, which is very much the final kind of accumulation of the lesson of the entire journey of moving through Aries, which is very much about identity wounds. Feeling like your own person, feeling acknowledged and seen and recognized as being your own person. And so we're moving beyond that very soon, on the 19th of June, into Chiron in Taurus, which does activate quite possibly for the next however many years. It might be 7 years, I think. I could be wrong there. But it does activate stuff around value, stuff around worth, stuff around money, because it's Taurus themed, right? So I just thought I would mention that, because globally, I'm very curious about what that's going to look like, how that's going to kind of contribute to the creation of the collective reality on this planet. It could be something that does create some scarcity, some lack, some conflict over people's worth, being paid equally or being paid enough, or, just different things. So I just thought I would mention that, because with everything that's heightened right now in the masses, it could be, maybe this is, as intense as it gets, but it could possibly get more intense. So practicing the muscle of really acknowledging your awareness, and also acknowledging that you are the source of your reality, is key. It's key to being able to navigate whatever changes occur, coming up in the future with what's happening globally. So I think that's kind of all I wanted to share. But also, so the other thing is just pay attention to whether or not, with all those frequencies coming at us all of the time, all of the things, our systems are I think in this day and age, most people's systems are a little overloaded with the amount of content online. So maybe just have a look at whether or not you're tapping into your own frequency enough, right? What is your frequency? What do you know? What did your being come here for? What capacities does it have? And are you using that, right? Are you allowing that frequency, that energy to flow through you? Or are you just receiving everybody else's reality all of the time and not necessarily allowing yours to be here? So asking that question, tapping in, meditation is great, Reiki is great, like other, you know, yoga, breath work, whatever, to connect to yourself so that you're acknowledging your own frequency, your own source energy. You know, that is key to being able to outcreate any financial stress. So I hope that contributes to you guys. If you do need any assistance, feel free to get in touch for theta healing sessions. It can help to shift the kind of like belief systems that have solidified within the subconscious that basically create the wall to receiving more energy into your world. And money is very much just energy, right? There's all sorts of things that kind of like come with money, like energetically. It can come with the projections of people. It can come with love. It can come with hate. It can come with all sorts of things, but it is all just energy. So the more you're kind of willing to shift the belief systems within, the more ease you have allowing more energy to come into your world, and the more ease the universe can contribute to creating whatever reality you would like to live. So I hope that has been helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. And if there's anything you'd like me to do a video about, feel free to leave that suggestion there also. As always, I'm very grateful for you guys for being here, for listening. Thank you. And yeah, till next time, see you later.